Ok, bueno, bienvenidos a todos. Welcome everybody. Welcome to our May Family Engagement Framework Advisory Committee meeting. Bienvenidos a todos a nuestra junta de la involucración familiar, del marco de involucración familiar. Esta es nuestra junta de mayo. Hector, can you please do the next slide, please? Today we have Spanish interpretation available. Look for the interpretation glove icon at the bottom menu of your screen and select Spanish and or click on the three dots on the bottom of your screen and look for the interpretation option. Finally, you must also select the words that say mute original audio feature, turn off the original audio if you do not wish to hear the English language in the background. Hoy tenemos interpretación al español disponible. En la parte inferior de la pantalla encontrará el menú. Ahí busque el icono de interpretación representado con la imagen de un globo terráqueo o si no lo ve, pulse en los tres puntitos y busque la selección del idioma español. En el menú de la barra de la parte inferior de su pantalla. Por último, también se debe seleccionar las palabras que dicen Mute Original Audio Feature, apagar el audio original para no escuchar el otro idioma en el trasfondo. Si necesitan interpretación al español, por favor, busquen en la barra inferior del menú de su pantalla ya sea el globo terráqueo o los tres puntitos o la palabra que dice más y busquen la selección de español y ahora los invito a todos que vayan a la sala de español. For the English speakers, I just sent the individuals that need to be in the Spanish room. They have joined the Spanish room. For the English speakers, I would also ask you to please select the English language since today we have interpretation. So if you go at the bottom menu, you're going to see either three little dots that say more or a little globe that says interpretation. Click there and select the English language, please. So then that way you're in the English room and we're in the Spanish room. If you have any questions, please let us know on the chat and we can help you.
Esdi, tenemos nuevas familias que unieron ahorita. ¿Puedes repetir otra vez las instrucciones?
Sí. Hola a todos y bienvenidos. Hoy tenemos interpretación en español. Les voy a dar instrucciones de cómo hacerlo. Hoy tenemos una interpretación al español disponible. En la parte inferior de la pantalla encontrará el menú. Ahí busque el icono de interpretación representado con la imagen de un globo terráqueo y seleccione el idioma al español. Haga clic en los tres puntitos suspensivos en la parte inferior de su pantalla para identificar la opción de interpretación. Por último, también se debe seleccionar la palabra que dice Mute Original Audio Feature, apagar el audio original para no escuchar el otro idioma en el trasfondo al mismo tiempo. And Hector, please go ahead and place this on the chat so everybody has instructions on how to do it. Actually, I'm going to do it. So for the English speakers and the Spanish speakers, if you don't know how to select your channel or if you need help, I'm placing it right now on the chat. Those are the written instructions. Thank you so much. And now we can start with the presentation. So today we have our agenda. I'm going to go over the agenda. So we have the welcome and the overview as we just went through it. We are going to have a little icebreaker. Then we're going to go through the summary of the findings. So the last meeting was very interesting and we learned quite a bit. So we're going to bring those findings and we're going to open a discussion. Then we're going to review the timeline. We updated the timeline. Last meeting, we talked to you about updating the timeline, and we'll give you a little bit more of an overview about what happened last meeting and also the updated timeline. Then we're going to go into breakout rooms, and we're going to be talking about the Family Engagement Toolkit. And we're going to go through it, and we're going to analyze it. And it's going to be a very fun dynamic, so stay tuned. Then we're going to be sharing our discussions from the breakout rooms. And then we're going to be discussing, of course, the toolkit. And then, of course, we're going to have the closing and the next steps. Please, next slide. Okay, now I'm going to invite my colleague Vivian Bolanos to go through the icebreaker.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. So we are going to get started with our icebreaker. I want you to take a minute and think about what your favorite family event is or was to attend. So it can be anything from parties or reunions or something that maybe is very unique to your family, just an event that means something to you. And you can unmute and share that in whole group, or you can put it in the chat. So we'll do about 1 minute, and then I'll either read some from the chat if no one has unmuted, and then we will get to our next our next slide. So I see some answers coming in. Camping during the summer, large family get-togethers on Christmas, school concerts. Personally, I really enjoyed Sunday family dinners. When I was younger, we would just go out to eat, and that was really fun. Attending events at the beach, long walks with my family. Disneyland, oh yeah, that is a big one for me too. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's great. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share with the whole group? Holidays, dinners, birthdays. I know it's hard to choose just one. Every event that you get to spend with your family, it seems very special. At least in my opinion. So do 1 more minute, can put it in the chat, or like I said, come off mute and share with everyone. All right, so we will go on to our next slide, and I believe Nayesti will continue our topic for today.
Thank you so much, Vivian. So during the last meeting, we talked about extending the timeline because we have decided to really take the time and expand and invite most of those family voices at the table, and of course every other voice like students and any other voice at the table. And we didn't want to rush it. We wanted to take more time to really go in and analyze it and take our time. So we decided to extend it. We did ask and we brought this to the advisory committee last meeting, and they they said yes, and that extending it was a good idea. So we could spend more time in, reviewing the framework and giving its needed attention. So right now, we're gonna just pull up the English one and I'm gonna go over it. So then that way you can see what is the update. And then if you have any questions, you can definitely ask them and I can answer them. So thank you so much, Hector. So we are extending the timeline from May. Can you make your window bigger, Hector, please? For some reason it looks it's just showing like half of it, Hector. Like if you make your
Yeah.
actual window, yes.
Give me 1 sec. Let me fix that.
Thank you. So as Hector does that, we expanded the timeline between May and December. We weren't meeting all that time, but we just decided to extend it to even after we stopped meeting virtually in these spaces, we still have time to gather your feedback, gather your input, and kind of have that conversation. So we're going to start with May, which is today, this meeting. We are meeting here with the advisory committee, which is every single one of you, to discuss the toolkit in depth. And we're going to be looking at mostly focusing in the format, the audience, and how to connect, and the content, and etc. Then we're looking at meeting in June again, and we're looking at then really presenting an initial draft of an updated toolkit. So Annabelle later in the presentation is going to go over the suggestions, the input that you gave us in the toolkit. And we, based on that, came up with a little outline. And as you saw in your pre-work, you were able to see kind of that time outline that we're looking for. So today we're going to present it. You're going to give us feedback. And then what we're going to do is we're going to then in June, take your feedback again, do the modifications, changes, etc., and then present it to you. You're going to give us feedback again. And then in July, you're going to, Hector, can you scroll down a little bit? In July, you're going to incorporate, we're going to that now kind of present to you a preliminary toolkit draft, because at this point we have had 2 meetings, you have provided your input, we have kind of sit there and kind of given you what we think you need or what it looks like you want. So by this time, we're going to have the conversation of having kind of a preliminary toolkit draft, which that means at this time, we're still updating, we're still receiving feedback, but it's more kind of more something that now it's drafted, kind of going more towards the final version. And then in July, we're looking at incorporating any suggestions to the toolkit. And then in August, we're looking at then once again completed that preliminary framework definition, the toolkit, and really having that conversation again of, okay, we looked at the toolkit, we then looked at the, we were going to reintroduce the definition. Now we're looking at the framework, what does need to change, what else do we need to update? But at this point in August, what we're looking at is for sure have kind of that draft of the toolkit and just receiving more feedback. And then in September, we're looking at having the preliminary draft of the updated framework definition and the toolkit for review with the advisory committee. So at this point, by this point, we have seen the toolkit. We're going to reintroduce the definition again, and we're going to be talking about the framework in August, in June, and then June and August. And then in September, we're just going to sit together and say, okay, we have gathered all of your input. We have done this. What else can we do? So this is where we're going to be starting to have the real conversations of, okay, now we did at the toolkit. What other feedback do we need? Who other needs to be providing this feedback? So this is really the time where you as an advisory committee will come and present something to you, but you will really be guiding the work. And then in September, we'll be looking at the draft, and then hopefully, can you scroll down, Hector? In October and December, we won't meet anymore after that meeting, but in October and December, we'll just be sending emails or just getting any other input, any other feedback. Although we won't be meeting virtually, we will still be kind of bouncing ideas. So hopefully by November and December, we can finalize and update this framework and the toolkit. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, and then Hector was kind enough, and he placed the English roadmap and the hoja de ruta. He placed it on the chat, so you can get that link from the chat. And then once again, just a reminder, you have access to the resource folder, and right there you can find all of these documents. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Nazi, one sec. Let me change the view back to the original one.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, we sent some pre-work, and based on your feedback, we created an outline of the toolkit of how that could look like. And we send you some pre-work on via email to kind of think about the roles. So we're looking at having the outline and thinking about roles. So if you can please scan the QR code, or also the link has been placed on the chat. Take it. We're just asking about what roles do you have, where maybe you would like to kind of give feedback for the toolkit. Please do that. In the meantime, while you do that, one of our colleagues is going to put together some of those breakout rooms, and we would be then later in the meeting, we'll be meeting through breakout rooms, and we'll having those important discussions. While you fill out your survey, I'm going to pass it over to Annabelle Sanchez, and she's going to walk us through the next section.
Sure, thank you, Nayesti. And it's nice to see everyone again. We, as Nayesti mentioned last time, we looked at toolkits from different states and different organizations, and you had some input for us. So we gathered that input and put it together in this outline. Some of the findings that were suggested were, in considering the toolkits, looking at the structure by grade levels and roles, and the challenge, a possible challenge of having too many links. Using the toolkit is what the purpose of using the toolkit would be, and using the visual aids and the size of the text was also something that we wanted to keep in mind, because based on that size, it could be a little complex to read all the information, or it can be a little too wordy. But yes, those were the findings we had. And I think we're still giving them time to complete the survey too, right?
Yes, Annabelle, we are still giving them some time. So based on those findings, what we decided was, okay, so they're giving us some input as to, you know, we, like Annabelle mentioned, we reviewed different, well, the advisory committee reviewed different toolkits and then compared it to the actually the toolkit for the birth through 12 family engagement framework, and they were able to give us feedback. So based on that feedback, as mentioned before, we put together a little outline, and then based on that outline, we're gonna go over breakout rooms in the discussion. So next slide, please, Hector. So in this one, Hector, can you pull up the OneNote that Vivian shared with you? So in this one, we took your feedback, and then we said, okay, so how would the outline look like? And in a bit, Hector is going to pull up kind of what we came up, what we conceptualized. So now we're presenting it to you, and we're gonna go over it. We want to hear your input and your feedback. And if you totally say, well, this is not what we conceptualized, well, this is the time and this is the space. So we'll be there in just a second. Let me just have Hector pull it up.
Sorry, it's still loading. Give me 1 second.
Hector, if it's still loading, I can just share my screen. I have it up. Don't worry about it. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and let me know if you don't see it. But based on what we conceptualized, some of the framework of the feedback was, okay, we do like that the family engagement framework for the birth through 12 has, it's talking to different audiences, but it's not really clear. So we kind of want sections, kind of have it grouped by sections. And then within those sections, we would like to see some of those tools that are, for those specific individuals to learn about family engagement. So when we were looking at it, we were looking at, okay, so what are some tools and what tools are needed for those specific individuals? So we came up with 3 groupings. So we came up with tools for district administrators, community leaders, and principal site administrators. So based on that, we said, okay, so what can be important? Well, we would have an introduction about the importance of family engagement and how does family engagement look like from their side, or how could that look like, and how, this toolkit can be helpful for them. We would have the importance of parent-school partnerships. We were able to get some, some tools here. So we would like for you to see it and say, oh yeah, like these are some good tools, or maybe, yes, what's your role in family engagement? That's perfect. One of the core priorities can be like, working together, and how does that look like from those roles, interacting and doing family engagement. Maybe you can say, you know what, I really like these, or maybe we can add more, or maybe I have this wonderful resource. This is yours. This is just the outline that we put together based on your feedback. Then within those specific roles, we also gathered that it would be, if you want to look at the toolkit and you want it to be relevant. So you want to be able to go into the toolkit and say, oh, well, I'm an administrator and I'm in high school, and I like all of this introduction, but like specifically for high school, how does that look like? So they can come here and they can look at it. So we went in and we did it by so it has elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. So then they can come here based on the age band. The importance of two-way communication, decision making. So all of those sections would be there. So then within that, how does it look like when we're working with 0 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, which is then kindergarten, 7 to 10, first, 5th grade. So we have it by roles. Group by roles, then we go into the importance of family engagement and what does that family engagement look like from from those roles, and then within those age bands, how does that look like when you're a high school teacher or you are a daycare individual. So we wanted to be more versatile because, as you remember, we're updating the toolkit in its sounds from an early childhood family engagement perspective. From an early childhood perspective, but we also want to honor every single age band because family engagement is important at every single level. So then we have the same for teachers. So it's the same thing. We have the teachers and we go into the introduction, the sections, and then once again, the decision making. So we have some resources here, and then we have the age band 0 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and so on. So every section is the same. It goes by roles. Then we have those resources, the importance of family engagement, and then we give resources and tools or resources specific to the age band. And that's how we outlined it. So today, and then the same thing for families is the same thing. We have the same outline. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then Hector, if you can pull up now the presentation, that would be great. So what we're going to do today is we're going to put you into breakout rooms. You took the survey, and then you kind of let us know what we wanted, where you wanted to do. So we decided to have 3 different breakout rooms. One is going to be for families. The other one is going to be for administrators, community members, etc. And then the other one is going to be for teachers. You would be placed in one of those breakout rooms. If you're not placed, don't worry. After everybody goes to breakout rooms, Hector is going to help you go to your needed breakout room. So this is what's going to happen when you go to your breakout room. you're going to discuss the following questions. What do you like about the format of the proposed toolkit? Do you anticipate any challenges for the format? Considering the role that you picked, was the information relevant to your role? Did you find that content provided helpful? What made it helpful? Was there any information that should be there or should not be there or should be modified? Once again, this is just a skeleton. This is just an outline based on the feedback that you provided. So we're presenting it to you. If this is what you didn't, if there's things you don't like or things you would like to add, feel free to give us your feedback, because this is the time where we really want to have that feedback. So you're going to be placed in breakout rooms. Once you go to breakout rooms, you're going to be provided with the toolkit. So can you pull up the Google Slides, Hector, please? So then they can see how is that going to look like.
Do you want an example from the teacher slides?
No, Hector, if you go to the annotated agenda, pull up the Google Slides so they can see how it looks like. Perfect. So you're going to be placed in breakout rooms, and the first breakout room that you can be placed is for community leaders, principals, and site administrators. So right there, you are going to be able to pull up your toolkit. So if you hover over the title, Hector, can you hover over the title, please? Yes, and open the link that is in there. Yes, right there, you're going to see your section. So, this one is going to be for administrators. So, engaging families, you're going to go through it. You can add, you can take out, you can say, this outline, maybe that's not what we wanted. Can we review this? Or I think this should not be discussed here. So once again, you're going to review that. You're going to answer the questions, and the questions are just mostly to help you go through this conversation, because at the end of the day, you're the ones providing us the feedback, and this is what we think you want. So this is the time that you say, oh no, this is not what we wanted, or yes, this is sort of what we want, but we kind of want a little more of this, a little less of that. Hector, can you go back to the Google slide? So then right there, you can see the questions. You can see each one has their own toolkit. If you have any questions, you're going to have a facilitator in the room, and the facilitator can help you with any questions. So now I'm going to we're going to be opening the breakout rooms. We're going to go into your breakout rooms. The instructions are answering those questions. If you go to your specific slide, you're going to be able to see it there. And then Hector is going to place the specific links for your breakout room. So just look for that link, click in there, and then you're going to be able to see exactly what I'm seeing just for your respective breakout room. And then just let me know whenever the breakout rooms are ready to be open. And we're going to be in breakout rooms for 35 minutes. So really take this time to discuss anything that you want to add. We're here to listen to you. So I'm going to invite now Annabelle to do this section, which is the share out and the toolkit discussion.
Yes, thank you, Nayesti. And for this section, we're just gonna go and look at the different breakout rooms and based on the roles, and just it's an opportunity for you to share what your group discussed, what were some findings, anything you'd like to bring up to our attention. Yeah, now's the time for that. So I'll start with the district administrators, community leaders, principals, and site administrators group. Is there anyone in there who would like to share what you guys discussed?
Absolutely. First, I want to thank my group. Lots of great feedback in the group for administrators. And so I'll start with some of the areas that we could use improvement. Of course, you've already mentioned that there were quite a bit of links. So that was mentioned in our group. We talked a lot about better ways to incorporate and utilize school organization teams, better ways to bring people together through organizations, those who might work cross-sector, how to get everybody on the same page. We did notice that there was a link, and I did mention it to Jamie, so she's aware, but there is a link under um, the survey tool. I think it's under number 3B. That's not working, so we want to make sure that's
Hector,
go.
sorry, Jamel. Hector, can you pull up the Google slide so we can see what?
For some reason we weren't able to type into ours.
Okay.
Because of the security settings, but we do have them written out, so they will, as soon as we get access, we'll be able to copy and paste them over.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm moving those notes over right now.
Sounds good. All
Thank you.
right. And then some other ways to kind of enhance what's there. Overall, it's wonderful, wonderful resource. One of the things that I had mentioned was incorporating specialized initiatives like fatherhood initiatives, English language learners, really looking at culture as a sense of bringing people together. And then finding a way to bridge the gap between school and the community, whether it's bringing teachers out to meet students in a park, things to be able to not only have or encouraging families to come to a school, but also how can the school meet families where they are. In addition to that, some of the things that we thought were really well, a lot of people enjoyed the parent engagement assessment tool, giving us a place to start and kind of ask those important questions within an organization or school community. And then definitely the videos. There were mention of many of the videos that were really helpful, specifically those areas on exactly how to incorporate family engagement. So giving those tools and tips out that don't require necessarily the extensive reading. Those seem to be a highlight for our group, but overall, a lot of wonderful feedback, and hopefully we'll have our notes so you can see more specifically.
Thank you so much. Yes, I can see your notes, and Jamie's doing a wonderful job just placing them in there. So don't worry about that. We're able to see it. And the next group would be, who would like to share from our teacher toolkit?
So Kelly and I were in the teacher toolkit, but we didn't have anyone join us, which is understandable since it's during the school day. And I believe the kids are still in school, so they are teachers are out there doing their job right now. So I actually added all those links to the teacher toolkit, so I could speak to a few of them. So I think and being a former teacher myself, I think with family engagement, sometimes we as teachers forget, with everything going on, we forget that the family is also there to give us some really valuable information. And so like in the administrator portion, in the teacher portion, there's also like a self-evaluation tool to see how you are doing with but family engagement. And then on building partnerships with families. And so I really like what Jamel said about meeting families where they are. And sometimes I feel like that can be a little difficult with teachers, again, because of all the other things that they're doing. But really, how can that be like something that families and educators, there can be like more of a compromise. So like working around one another's schedules and really looking at something that works for both parties. If there isn't something that the teacher can do like outside of contract hours or go into the home. I know there's a lot of the home visiting programs that are also very valuable. So using those. And then I know that is going to look a little different with families as students get older, so that family engagement piece will differ, you know, if a child is 3 years old versus an 18-year-old. So that's just a little bit about what's in that portion of the toolkit.
Thank you, Vivian. Always appreciate that feedback. And then Nayesti, I think I'm just going to share the notes from the family/caregivers group, and that way it gets translated in the other room. So Nayesti and I were both in that group. They had a lot of great input. They did like that the toolkit looked more complete and that the activities are based on grade level. Overall, it looks better. They did request for the links, the information in the links to be more in Spanish. Unfortunately, we didn't find a lot of Spanish resources for them. Some of them we did find though. It took a little playing around with it, but it'd be great if there was a section there specifically with Spanish resources. They mentioned an organization named Fuerza Latina that assists their children in reading. So they thought that would be a good resource for us to include. Having the age group of 0 to 2 years has been very helpful, and just breaking it up by ages would be helpful. And along with that is services such as speech therapy and other special education related services that might be beneficial. Using the term family instead of parent to avoid and avoid abbreviated terms, such as how it mentions EC for early childhood, because not everyone might know what it means. And then a question that came up, and it's something that, you know, we need to consider, is who's the toolkit for? Are we designing it specifically for parents or families? There needs to be more clarity needed in that, in how who our targeted audiences. And yeah, I think that's the last of the notes from that group.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And yes, these are definitely great feedback and questions. So we'll take it and then we'll come back and even bring those questions to you back. And one of the questions definitely that Annabelle talked about is, are we creating this family section for families to go and find resources and how to do family engagement, or for like, for example, administrators to how families should be doing family engagement? So that was a very important question, and I think it's very interesting to learn. And I even, the person that brought it up, I said, well, I ideally like this toolkit to be for families, you know, so it is designed by them and they give us that point of view, but we can definitely add that section in the other 2 sections, the administrators, nonprofit organizations, and teachers, if needed. And this is very important because in the next meeting, you know, we'll send up the notes, the recap, but we also want to make sure that in the next meeting you choose another area and you're able to see it. So we really want you to dive into it, and we'll come up, you know, once again in the next meeting, we'll bring the findings, and then we'll let everybody discuss and see what else and what journey or road or way we like to take. Thank you so much. Next slide, please, Hector. So like I said, this is just initial diving into the outline, and it would change, but at least it looks like most individuals did like the outline in itself, you know, having it by roles, and within those roles, having it by age band, so it's easier to access and it's more relevant. So with this, we're closer to concluding our meeting, and I would like to invite everyone to fill out the evaluation. Please fill it out. We would like to hear from you, any ideas, anything. We're really taking into consideration everything you have to say, and if we don't, just let us know again if we missed anything. So right here, you can scan the QR code, and also Hector placed the link in English and Spanish. It's the same link for the evaluation. Please feel free to ask any questions. Does anybody have questions while people are pulling up the evaluation about the discussion? Do you have any input? Would you like to see anything different that wasn't discussed? Okay, I'm gonna pass it over to Annabelle.
Sure, thank you, Nayesti. And I'm still giving you guys a few minutes to complete the survey. As Nayesti said, it really helps us with planning and seeing how we can improve and seeing what we should keep. And there we go. Next, the next steps is our next meeting, which will be on June 25 from 11:30 to 1 p.m. So please mark it in your calendars. I was just thinking that based on what Vivian said, hopefully, you know, we have more teachers able to join us then and provide their input, specifically for the toolkit for educators. And, you know, just if you know of any educators, please share this information with them because we'd love to see them. Hopefully they are able to attend by then and they'll be on break. And last slide, please. And finally, you have my contact info and Nayesti's contact info. And once again, we thank you for being here, for collaborating with us, for sharing your knowledge, and we look forward to seeing you in the end of June. Please reach out if you need anything from us.